welcome to another In Studio. I am Tom Wright. Today I bring in a great prominent man in Dakota County, and his name is Mr. James Backstrom, your Dakota County attorney for over 30 years now. So Jim, thank you for coming to the studio.
Well, thank you for having me again, Tom. It's really nice to be back.
It's great, always great to chat with you. We have Jim here for a couple reasons. Number one, he is just announced he's seeking re-election for his, I believe, 8th term, correct?
Well, I've been blessed and privileged to serve this community, as you said, for over 30 years as county attorney. I worked in this office for over 41 years now. I started back in 1977, so and it's been just an amazing career. I'm privileged and blessed to have the opportunities I've had here in this great community. Listen, I'm getting older, but I still have a lot of passion for my work, and I'm privileged to lead a great office filled with really talented attorneys, and and I'm not quite ready to leave yet, so I'm hoping the citizens will give me the opportunity to continue this for another term.
Yes. So we're going to talk more about that decision, and also we're all going to talk about today about the 2017 statistics that have just been released by the county attorney's office for both adult and juvenile crimes. A couple of things that stand out we're going to ask about, and also hear anything else that stand out from our county attorney here on those statistics, and see what the current issues are. What are they facing there with both adults and juvenile crimes? But yes, going back to the decision here, Mr. Backstrom, over 30 years now, 8th term. I got to imagine, like being in your shoes, each time this comes up, because they're 4-year terms, each time this comes up, the decision's got to be just a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging, or perhaps not such an easy yes. But what is it for you?
Well, listen, as I said, I've been here for a while now, and I have worked for the county for over 40 years, and I just turned 65, and so I'm getting older. But as I said, I still have a lot of energy, a lot of passion for the work that we do. I think having an opportunity to serve the interests of public safety and justice each and every day in my work as county attorney, to oversee the enforcement of our child support enforcement collection process, to protect vulnerable children and vulnerable adults from being abused or neglected, in terms of civil interventions to protect those children, as well as criminal prosecutions associated with those cases, and representing Dakota County as their legal counsel. A lot of people don't realize the breadth of what a county attorney does in our state.
Great. That was one of my questions. So please do tell us. Yeah, what is your job? What do you do as a Dakota County attorney?
We have a lot of different areas of the law that we oversee. We are the reason I'm the prosecutor, obviously the chief prosecutor in this community, and that's a very important part of what the county attorney does. And in fact, it's the biggest part of my office. I have 43 assistant county attorneys that work with me here in Dakota County, our state's 3rd largest county, and still growing. Albeit a little slower than it was in the 1980s, but a growing and a vibrant community, and we have had a growing office over the years because of that. When I first started, I think 40 years ago, I think we had 7 or 8 attorneys, so you can see the growth has been pretty dramatic, as the growth of Dakota County has been. But in terms of the breadth of the office and why we're called county attorneys as prosecutors in Minnesota, is because we have more responsibilities than just being the prosecutor. In other states, they call them district attorneys or state's attorneys. All those individuals do is prosecute crime. Here, we're the county's attorney, and that's where the name comes from, because I'm the lawyer for Dakota County as well, and I have a civil division staff that does civil litigation work. Our county's self-insured. We do all legal advice to all county officials and our county board. We do a lot of review of contracts and preparation of documents, the acquisition of real estate for road improvements and for parks, handling any appeals of tax appeals that are filed for property taxation. Our office is involved in a wide range of civil activities, including employment law and data privacy, which is a big issue these days, and an important issue. Yeah. But we oversee a lot of the civil parts of the office that a lot of people don't see the county attorney directly in the public doing, but we're doing it each and every day, and we're serving the citizens of our community in doing that important work. We also, as I mentioned, protect children and vulnerable adults through child protection and adult protection interventions when those children or vulnerable adults have been neglected, abused, or harmed in any way. we intervene civilly to protect those children and remove them from their home if that's what needs to be done for their safety. Get them in a proper placement, whether it's a foster home for a while, and try to deal with the underlying issues through that civil court process to ensure that those children, again, are safe to return home, or a vulnerable adult is safe to go back into the setting that they were in, whether it was home or another placement type facility. So that's really important work too. And then we also enforce child support obligations as the county attorney. We collect close to $50 million over the last 2 years in terms of child support enforcement in our community. That's a lot of money we're bringing in. And again, we're directly serving families and the welfare and well-being of children by doing that important work. And so the county attorney has an opportunity to have a huge impact in our community. And the prosecution side, obviously, we're one of the chief law enforcement official. I am the chief law enforcement official in our county, and I work closely with Sheriff Tim Leslie and all of our great police departments and chiefs in terms of keeping our community safe, and that's a huge issue, and ensuring that those who break our laws are held accountable.
So that's the Mr. James Backstrom at work. All that you do, that's a lot. That's a long list. What does your list look like for what you do outside of work? What do you like to do to unwind and get away from it all?
You know, I try to work out a little bit. I don't have much time. In the summers, I like to ride my bike, and I do need to try to get a little more of that in.
We all do. You're not alone on that. We all do.
To stay more healthy, but you know, and listen. I have just an amazing wife, Mary Beth, who's been with me now for over 31 years, and listen, she's my rock and my foundation at home, and she does an amazing work. And she was a public health nurse for over 32 years in Ramsey County. Just retired this past earlier this year, I should say. And I have 2 children. My daughter is an assistant prosecutor now up in Isani County in Cambridge, Minnesota, and making her dad awfully proud that she followed my footsteps. And my son, who's 41, works as a manager at Spire Credit Union up in Roseville. And I'm very proud of both my kids, and I have 2 grandchildren as well.
Nice. And I know that you have a side talent of doing some impersonation of a famous singer, Mr. Elvis. You do Elvis impersonation. Are you still up doing that?
You know, I do have kind of a unique hobby, and that is I am an Elvis impersonator, and I have gone out and performed for a lot of folks over the years in our community. And it is a nice way to unwind and let some of the stresses of the work, because this is a stressful position.
I can imagine.
And stressful work that we do each and every day. And I love to sing. I sang in my high school choir, my college choir, and my church choir even to this day. And you know, many years ago, you know, when I was in my I think early 40s, I got talked into doing a little karaoke one night. Did Elvis. People seemed to love it, and my wife actually bought me an outfit, and I've gone out and performed. And I've performed for a lot of, you know, seniors at senior assisted living homes, and I don't charge. I just go out and do this. And I've slowed down a little bit. I'm getting older. The knees aren't quite as strong as they used to be for some of the moves that go with the singing, but I still enjoy doing it and getting out when I have a chance.
Well, that's great. That's great stuff. Well, it's good to hear. I'm glad Elvis is still alive and well. That's great. And you're a basketball player too, right?
You know, I grew up playing high school basketball and high school football at Duluth East High School. I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. And I really enjoyed those sports, and particularly basketball was something I played for many, many years following high school in city league type teams, and after I moved down to the Twin Cities. I went to the University of Minnesota in Duluth after I graduated from high school, and then I went to William Mitchell College of Law in St. Paul from 1974 to 1978 when I graduated, and I've been working here in Dakota County actually before I even graduated from law school the year before, and I've been blessed to have that opportunity, and was hired as an assistant county attorney in 1978, became the head of the civil division of our office for about 5.5 years, and then became the county attorney in the fall of 1987 when my predecessor Robert Carolyn became a judge, and then the county board picks the county attorney when there's a vacancy, and they selected me after an interview process, and I was very privileged to get that opportunity and served 3 years of that term. And as I said, I've been elected 7 times here in our county, and and I'm hoping that we'll make it 8 this fall.
Great. Before we move on to the 2017 stats, one more question on your reelection, seeking reelection. Opponents, have you ever had an opponent? I was thinking about this because I don't remember recalling it since I've been here, 13 years now. I don't recall you ever having an opponent in any of these races. Have you had an opponent?
I did in 1994. I had an opponent, so 1 out of the 7 elections I've had was opposed, and it was a city attorney at the time who ran against me, and who's now a district court judge, Mike Mayer. He's a wonderful judge. He does a great job, and I did win that election, obviously, when he ran against me as for the county attorney position.
So what was the key? Did you have nicer yard signs?
I still have a lot of yard signs, if I need them again. But times have changed. Elections have changed a little bit, and there's much more social networking and those types of ways to get your message out, as well as the old-fashioned yard signs, which we still see to this day. So listen, the election process is an important one. This is an important position of public trust and responsibility, and the reason county attorneys are elected, and county sheriffs as well in our community. We're the only 2 county officials that are elected countywide. Our county commissioners each have a district, and the 7 county commissioners each have a district within our county where they're elected from, and are very important officials, obviously, as well. But the county attorney and the county sheriff are the only 2 county-wide elected officials today. And in terms of the work that we do, we can't have other people telling us how to do our jobs. We have important elected and public responsibilities, and we have to make those decisions under the rules that govern our particular professions. And in mine, I have ethical responsibilities as a prosecutor, and I can't be told who to prosecute and who not. That's my decision to make in our community, and I try to do it fairly and impartially. As I always tell people when we go out and talk about my job as a prosecutor, we don't prosecute people because of who they are, the color of their skin, their ethnic backgrounds, their religious beliefs. We prosecute people based upon what it is they have done, and more importantly, what it is we can prove they have done, because we have to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt before they can be convicted of a crime. And that is an appropriate constitutional standard. It shouldn't be easy to convict someone of a crime, and that's the highest burden of proof there is in any form of litigation in America, as it should be. And we work hard to meet that burden each and every day. It's challenging. The prosecutors have heavy loads to take on, and a lot of work to do as we prepare for cases for trial. And listen, I also want to mention quickly, we could not do this without our law enforcement partners. Our sheriff, Tim Leslie, his fine office, all of the police departments in Dakota County do tremendous work. The Minnesota State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, our state crime agency, has investigators, and the important crime lab that they have, and where they do the analysis of DNA and guns that are fired and fingerprints that we use as evidence in cases that come forward that we need to be able to use to prove someone's guilt when we're alleging they've committed a crime.
Well, let's hit these stats. Speaking of crime, you segued nicely into our 2017 stats that we're going to go over real quick. And we have the report up on the laptop here, so viewers at home, you can watch, take a look at some of these things, so we can show a couple of the graphs that are in this report. And we're not going to go through it and line by line here and go through all the numbers, but how this is broken down, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jim, we basically have, it's broken down between adult felony crimes and juvenile crimes, all juvenile crimes.
Correct. The county attorney prosecutes all juvenile crime in the county, no matter what level it is, including petty misdemeanors, and what we call gross misdemeanors. On the adult side of the office, the county attorney primarily prosecutes felony level crimes. Those are the most serious offenses that could result in you being put in state prison for more than a year if you're convicted of the crime, and it ranges from stealing $1,000 all the way up to committing murder, and everything in between. And those are obviously very serious and significant crimes. I also do prosecute some misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors for adults, and those include crimes against children. Anytime a child is a victim of a crime, the county attorney is going to be reviewing that no matter what level of the offense. And there are other certain designated crimes that the county attorney prosecutes. And in the unincorporated, the southern part of Dakota County, as we all know, has some vibrant townships. It's a great area. And that's unincorporated, and the county attorney prosecutes every offense that occurs there. But in the other cities, the incorporated 10 cities in Dakota County and a little bit of Northfield, they have city prosecutors, and they do a wonderful job. We work closely with them, and they prosecute some very important cases, including a lot of domestic violence and a lot of the impaired driving offenses.
Well, it looks overall, looks like it's pretty flat from last year, 2,154 total adult criminal cases versus 2,135 from last year. And if we want to look at Hastings specifically, just slightly up, 161 compared to 150 from last year. The one thing I want to ask you about here, we noticed, let's take a look at this adult cases on and shows related to drugs related and it separates meth and it has all drugs there. And one thing I noticed, we had a flat line for a while up to 2014, but since 2014 it's been steadily rising. And I was curious to hear from you, what do you attribute that to?
Well, it's been driving the crime rate in our community for many years. Unfortunately and tragically, the chemical addiction is a huge problem in our society. We have a lot of illegal drug cases, and just as you look at this chart, the top one is these are felony offenses that we prosecute for adults. And while it was only up slightly last year, it's been up significantly since 2014.
Right.
I mean, we're up close to 38% since that, and that's a significant increase in 3 years. But it's driven by an even larger increase in the number of illegal drug cases. 902 felony and a few gross misdemeanor illegal drug cases counted in there, because a couple years ago the legislature reduced some of the lowest level illegal drug crimes to gross misdemeanor offenses for the first-time offense. But these are significant cases, but that constitutes 42% of our entire criminal caseload for adults in Dakota County last year, and that's a significant number. And that's just the sale, possession, and a few manufactured cases. There aren't many manufacturing cases anymore, but the sale, possession is what this figure primarily represents. And it doesn't count all the other crimes associated with illegal drug use. If you add in the robberies, the burglaries, thefts, domestic violence, sexual assaults, and in some cases even murders associated with illegal drug trade and other crimes of violence, we're talking about over 55%, maybe even 60 to 65% of all crime in this county prosecuted today is related to illegal drug use. This is a huge problem. We're not unique here. This is a problem that is across the metro area. It's across our state. It's across our nation, and it's challenging. The bottom line, the red line in this chart that folks are looking at, that's methamphetamine charges alone. That is by far the largest illegal drug of abuse in Dakota County. We hear a lot about opioid pain medication abuse and the correlating heroin abuse problem, which stems from, initially for many, starts with opioid pain medication addictions. That is a huge problem too. And I'm not trying to diminish that in any way, because that causes a lot more deaths than any other illegal drug. But you just got to keep in mind, we prosecuted 81 cases involving all illegal use of prescriptions, and most of those were opioid pain meds, but only 81 cases last year, and we prosecuted 46 heroin cases in Dakota County last year. We prosecuted 560 methamphetamine cases. So, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how big of a problem meth is in our community. It's a huge problem.
So that's the problem. I'm curious to hear from you now. What do you see as the solution? If you were to wave a magic wand and make any legislation pass, whether it's at state or federal level, what would be on your wish list? What would you want done to address this?
Well, listen, we need to continue to be active and involved in the investigation of these cases. We have a drug task force in Dakota County that consists of officers from our sheriff's office and all of the police departments in Dakota County, and also Savage in our neighboring Scott County is a part of our drug task force. They are out there each and every day working hard to track these cases down, because listen, people who are addicted, this is a disease. We all understand that chemical addiction is a disease, but it's still a crime and a serious crime. But the only way people are going to get the help for that disease and that addiction is if the criminal justice system forces them into it, or their families force them into it. Very seldom does someone just on their own just go out and seek help and treatment. It does happen, but that's a a much smaller percentage than, so the criminal justice system plays a very important role in addressing these issues. And it's not just about locking everybody up. Yes, the violent drug offenders, the gang members, the dealers who are selling these drugs to our kids and to others in our community for profit, they belong in custody and in prison when we convict them. And that's what we work hard to do each and every day. But we also understand that for the chemically addicted, nonviolent offenders, we need to do everything we can to try to help them, yes, hold them accountable, but help them get the treatment that they need. And I'm proud to be a part of an adult drug court here in Dakota County. We also have one for juveniles. We have one for family dependency cases. Those are the child protection cases I'm talking about, where children are living in homes where drugs are being used. We have special courts that intervene in those cases in a more proactive way to try to address these underlying addictions without lengthy jail or prison terms associated with this. And we're really saving people's lives through these programs, and we're proud of them. I personally staff our adult drug court every Monday here in Hastings, with a few exceptions when I have some other commitments, but I'm there quite often. And we try to encourage and put some hope back in the lives of people who have lost hope because of their drug addictions.
Wow. Well, I'm getting the signal we're running out of time, but there's a couple things I want to hit real quick. On the plus side, we have good news that it sounds like on traffic-related fatalities that they're down overall in the states, the lowest since 1943, I think. Yeah. Let's see here. I'll read this off here on the screen, but it shows, 357 individuals killed in Minnesota 2017, and compared to 397 in 2016, and this 357 is the lowest since 1943.
That's it's great to see that the number is dropping. The problem is that still 357 people who are dying on our roadways in Minnesota every year, and then every year there's deaths here in Dakota County as well. One of the biggest and most rapidly growing problems I'll mention real quickly. Listen, impaired driving, alcohol, and under the influence of alcohol or drugs is a very serious problem and continues to be the major cause of these deaths. But the fastest growing problem is distracted driving. And that's people who are using their cell phones, who are texting or not paying attention to what they're doing. And over 90% of distracted driving is through cell phone misuse and abuse and texting on those phones. So listen, that's a rapidly growing problem. It's killing people. I got a bill up at the legislature that I proposed this year to increase the penalties for that when you are driving while using a cell phone or texting. That should be treated in the same way we treat impaired driving. It's a conscious decision to do those things, and if you're impaired, your driving is impaired because of that, and you kill or cripple somebody, you should face a felony level sanction. And right now, our law it's a misdemeanor, and it's a real hard conversation to have with someone who's lost a loved one through a distracted driver when you tell them all we can charge them with is a misdemeanor.
So is that issue still on the rise? I thought with the effort, I know there's been more awareness of it and an effort made by your office and everybody, to make people more aware of it and discourage it. But is it still the numbers? The
numbers are rising significantly, and we need to continue to address that aspect of this problem, and as we will. And Sheriff Leslie is working hard on that too.
Wow. All right. Put down
juvenile crime. We've had much better news. The crime rate's been dropping for over a decade. In a growing county, the third largest in our state, these are remarkable numbers. 10 years ago, we had 1,650 juveniles charged with a crime. Last year, we only had 984. The number of felonies, the bottom red line, is also really low for a county of our size. These are the most serious crimes for juveniles. But there was only 150 charges last year compared to 260 10 years ago. Those are remarkable numbers in a county of our size. We're proud of those efforts. We put a lot of effort into juvenile crime prevention in our community. My office, the sheriff's office, our police departments, we work on those issues proactively and try to get out there to help kids make good decisions and stay out of trouble.
Well, it sounds like a very smart approach because those juveniles eventually become adults, right?
Absolutely.
And the more juveniles keep out of trouble, I'm guessing that the more adults in the future will stay out of trouble.
Absolutely.
Right? All right. Well, Mr. Backstrom, anything else? I hate to cut this short, but we are running out of time. Is there anything else that you wanted to point out from either of these adult or juvenile crimes before we?
Well, I'll just say, human and sex trafficking crimes are increasing. It's a much bigger problem than most people realize. Anyone who wants access to our report can get that from contacting my office at www.co.dakota.mn.us. That's our website. You can get onto the attorney's office and send us an email. And it's attorney@co.dakota.mn.us. We'll be happy to send a copy of this report out to anybody who's interested in seeing the details. One last quick thing I'll mention.
Go ahead.
This is the 30th year for our annual poster contest.
Oh, yes, your calendar. Yeah, that's a great
which
deal.
we do a calendar each and every year. 5th and 6th grade students draw posters for this
down.
calendar. It's a great opportunity for young people to make their own positive statements about the dangers of drugs, alcohol abuse, and violence in our community, and they do a tremendous job. It's our 30th anniversary year this year for the 2019 calendar, and we're excited about that. And I know a lot of people look for that calendar, and rightfully so. It's a great reach. But again, it's one of my crime prevention initiatives that we've been doing for quite some time in our county. We're proud of it.
That's a great idea. Again, we'll have all this information is available. I'll put that on. You saw the graphics. We'll put fancy graphics up, putting the website and the email address and all that fun stuff up on there. Mr. Backstrom, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on your decision, and good luck on your campaign.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us for this in studio with Dakota County Attorney Jim Backstrom. We'll see you next time.